Last story here. Adam, you came in and you have a story to break about the Red Heifer.
Right.
Could you go ahead and elaborate on that, please?
Right. So this was a big thing over at InfoWars and on the dissident right media for the longest time. The Jew hate media. Yeah. Do you have my tweet that I actually put on my? So basically what happened, if you want to go to the first slide first before we play the video, about a month ago on July 1st, there was an announcement that they were going to do a practice run of the Red Heifer. And prior to this, the media outrage that the Jews were going to go do this Red Heifer, you had like these lunatics like Stu Peters and others who were saying this is going to usher in the Antichrist, blah blah blah, and it was like a real big media balagan. It was really a bad twist. So they said that and also the government wasn't going to let them. So what they did was they said we're just going to do a practice one with one of the 5 disqualified cows. The government said okay, whatever. They ended up going out, doing a real cow. One of the cow's name was Tikva. They made the offering, and it was a real offering. They did it all by the laws, and I have with me some of the ashes right here.
Hello, this is Old Man Jehu, where I talk about the news, culture, and Bible prophecy. So, in that clip, they was talking about how they recently took the ashes of a red heifer, and they have a lot of them too. I think they had like 40 gallons. They had a whole lot of animals, like a whole lot of red heifers, pure red heifers, and they burnt them up. And they actually have the ashes of the red heifer for purification of the temple. Now, what's interesting is this can lead the way to certain prophecies. Now, some people correlate this with the Antichrist. The Antichrist won't come. What ushers in the Antichrist is two things, and it has nothing really to do with the temple. The temple is like the establishment of Israel and the temple are how you're going to recognize the Antichrist. The Antichrist is going to come to power through something completely separate from Israel, which is a 10-nation empire and a 10-king empire, and he's going to be the 11th one out of that, the little horn. And also, when it comes to him, what's also going to usher him in is the gospel first. The gospel must be preached first, then the end shall come. Okay, because Jesus is not going to come until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled, and after the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled, all Israel will be saved. All natural Israel will be saved after that, and but that'll be after a great massacre that's going to off 2/3 of the people in Israel, because Jacob's trouble, or the Great Tribulation, is going to be highly focused around the Middle East area, in particular Israel. This is why it's called Jacob's trouble. Now, Daniel 7, Daniel 12, and Daniel 7, Daniel 12, and Revelation 13 talks about the tribulation being focused on the saints. So it's more than just the Jews. There is tribulation with the saints for 3.5 years, but never, and for 3.5 years, not 7. But nevertheless, this will have them being able to build the temple, which is a temple of God. And we know this because in, I believe, Revelations 11, 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, and Matthew 24, these all talk about the temple being the holy place. Like Jesus talked about the temple having the holy place. Paul talks about there being a temple of God, and the angel talks about measuring the temple of God. So if the angel and Paul talk about it being the temple of God, and Jesus calls it the holy place, then it's probably holy. And then you see in Ezekiel chapter in the chapter 40s or whatnot, you see in the temple they're doing rituals. Now, there's a couple of prophecies that will be able to be fulfilled with it. So one, they're going to clean off whatever they need to be able to clean off to do sacrifices before Jacob's trouble. Okay, that's number one. Like I said, sacrifices doesn't usher in Jacob's trouble. They just start before Jacob's trouble. What ushers in the Antichrist is that 10-ruler empire. If you don't see a 10-ruler empire around the Middle East, there's no Antichrist. Okay, I don't care what sacrifices is going on. That's number one. And then the gospel being preached around the world. That's going to usher in. Jesus says, after the gospel is preached around the world, then the end will come. Now, and the other prophecy is, after the temple is defiled, these things will be... there's going to be in Daniel 8, it talks about 1,200 and, I'm sorry, not 1,200, 2,000 like 300 days or something like that. It's 200 and some amount of days, evening and mornings, and then after those 2,300 evening and mornings, the temple will be cleansed, and then after that, they will do sacrifice. When I say after, I'm not saying what amount of time after. I'm just saying after the temple is cleansed, then they can start sacrifice. When they're going to start sacrifice after the temple is cleansed, I don't know if it's going to be immediate. I don't know if it's going to be a year or two or a couple months. I don't know that part. So those are the prophecies. The burnings of the ashes of the red heifer will be able to usher into, and the fact that they have so much ashes is interesting to me. And I'm gonna play another clip for you because there's something else I found interesting about this.
Red heifer ashes. It's pretty incredible. The red heifer, the last time that the red heifer was done was over 2,000 years ago. The first time it was done by Moses. The second time it was done by Ezra from the book in the Bible. And that shows you how long the ashes can last for. So a pure red heifer doesn't come about all the time. And in this generation, we had 21 of them that were born. Pure. They picked 7 to bring to Israel. And out of the 7, Israel only allowed them to have 5 brought in. And they've been sitting around just doing nothing because the media outrage has been so astronomical about it. But the red heifer people, they fooled everybody. And they successfully performed the ritual about a month ago. Now, in the ritual, you're supposed to have hyssop. I have also hyssop that is from the actual ritual, and also the red heifer ashes. And these get put into a clay jar and then sprinkled on people in a healing ritual. And it removes the impurity of death and allows for people to heal. So since this started, they have been sprinkling on people. There was a man with Alzheimer's who just started remembering everything, sight to the blind. There's some real miracles that have happened in the last month since this thing has gone down. But the ashes, just like I have a little bag, there was 10.5 gallons of ashes. And this is only a dime bag full. And these ashes have been disseminated. They're here to stay. They will never be found. So many people have them. And this little bag can cover about 10,000 doses.
That makes it sound like a really potent cocaine.
So we see that these the ashes of the red heifer are causing people to. I just found it interesting that he talked about them causing people to get healed, and I don't know if this is a natural, like something that's inherently to them naturally, or this is a supernatural thing. If it's if it's a supernatural thing, it definitely confirms the fact that this it has a legitimacy into building the temple, especially what he was talking about, like the red heifer. There hasn't been really many since for thousands of years. But if it's a natural thing, then I would suggest people will just say investigate this to get a lot more people not sick. We'll put it like that. Now, as far as the temple being legit, like I've said before, Jesus referred to the temple as the temple of God. It has the center of the temple as the holy place. Paul refers to it as the temple of God, and he also took part of sacrifices after becoming a Christian. And the angels referred it to talked about the temple being the temple of God in Revelations. And then you have sacrifices being done in Ezekiel, because Ezekiel 40 in the 40 range, because Daniel 8 talks about the temple being cleansed. And you only can cleanse something that is not inherently dirty, being cleansed after 12,300 days. But yeah, I thought the healing, that miraculous thing, was very, 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 very unexpected and pretty phenomenal, especially for the people who got healed. But anyways, I just found that interesting. That was on the Tim Cash Show. But thanks for your time. Thanks for watching, and have a good day. Peace.